Okay, so what I'm about to share with you guys was a very interesting pop-up experience. It started out as a struggle and continued to be a struggle all day long. So let's start from the beginning, which was early that morning. So I'm on my way to my pop-up this morning and I'm feeling really down. I was supposed to have 2 big holiday pop-ups this holiday season to really help me meet my sales goals for the quarter, for the year. And the first pop-up was supposed to be November 25th. Since I got sick, I was like, hey, I can't make it. Do you think I can just transfer the deposit to the next one, to the next weekend? And she said, yeah, that's fine. So that was great news for me. I was like a lot less stressed. I mean, I was still very sad that I wasn't going to be bringing in money that weekend to help me meet my goals. But I was like, all right, well, at least I'm not losing my deposit for this weekend. So now I'm on my way to the second weekend. It's December 2nd. And the weather is awful. There's a fog advisory right now. And it is forecasted to rain. It was supposed to be an outdoor like holiday festival. And I've done it in this location before. It's like a luxury shopping center. And sales are usually great when the weather's nice because there's a lot of people shopping for luxury goods. There's a lot of fancy restaurants. And, it's a great place to do pop-ups because you get a lot of people who, have a little bit more money coming to shop in this area or eat lunch or have drinks and stuff like that. Well, since it's raining, they're putting us in these 2 retail locations. So all of the vendors are separated, 1. And 2, they're not even like, I don't think my retail location that they assigned me to is even in an area where people walk very frequently and no one's gonna know we're there. So on top of that, I'm gonna be on my feet all day. I don't have any help. I wasn't able to hire anyone to help me this time because I'm kind of already worried about sales in general. I don't want to also have to pay someone to help me today. So I'm doing it all by myself. All of the setup and the loadout, being on my feet for 7 hours. And it's not raining there now. I guess I'm gonna get some Starbucks. Hopefully that will brighten my mood. I need like a pep talk right now. Yeah, wish me luck. Got my Starbucks, and when I was walking outside, it started pouring, which was great. But I will say I just pulled up to the actual pop-up location, and it's not currently raining, so hopefully the whole time that I'm unloading, it doesn't start to rain. And I did get a relatively close parking spot to the actual retail location, so I'm not gonna have to walk too crazy far while I unload at least. Can't say the same for when I load out because I'm gonna have to move my car to a parking garage all day while I'm in the event, but we shall see. I need like a pump up, like motivational speaker, I don't know, like video or podcast or Audible or something. And I don't know, I can't think of like anyone to look up. I mean, I don't think I really have time, but I don't know. I just need something to like brighten my spirits. Manifesting the ability to have a retail brick and mortar in this area someday. It's so pretty. I mean, even with the fog, it's like a really pretty street with all the lights. And they do a really good job here. Someday, right? If I just keep doing 1,000 more pop-ups and quit spending excessive money. One can dream, right? pop-up is over and I am currently, loading up my car. The funny thing about pop-ups is that when you do enough of them by yourself, you stop worrying about leaving your stuff unattended. Not because you're not worried people will steal it, but you just have no choice when you're doing them by yourself. I mean, you have to load the car, load products, and I don't have anyone to watch my stuff. I mean, sometimes you'll have another vendor there that will watch your stuff for you, but this time all of the other vendors were in a different location. So I was the only vendor in my area, and it just is what it is. Look how cool that bar looks. Honestly, I used to live a mile from this shopping area, and they have done so much with it since I moved, which was only 2 years ago. I mean, it was always really cool, but now it's like, I mean, there's a million people here. It's 7:30 and it's popping. And everything's open and cute and so fun. Okay, somehow I have to finish loading up my stuff. I hope it doesn't take me an hour because I'm tired. I've been here since, I don't know, 9:30. Here's my stuff. I'm so tired. I just have to get through it. I'm being dramatic. But these days really freaking wear you out. So at this point in the night, I thought I had only one trip left, which I was gonna easily knock out and then be on my way. And I had to go to the original retail location that they put me in at the beginning of the day before I had moved, which I'll talk about more later. But when I got there, the doors were locked and I was about to be like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna have to come back tomorrow or something. But I just happened to see the event organizer and I flagged her down and she was about to get in her car and leave. I'm sure she was exhausted. She had been there all day. Like, she had gotten there before I did. And I was like, I can't get in. And who can I call? And then she ended up just coming over, calling someone, helping me out. And I could tell she probably did not want to be there. I felt so bad. But I waited like 10 more minutes and then the security guard finally came and I finally packed everything up and was able to leave. But it was just a very frustrating, like, final last minute struggle that I had to deal with. All right, so now I'm back home, obviously, and I just want to talk a little bit about the day. So like you saw, I was originally set up in one retail location and I was there with 3 other vendors, I believe. And then the rest of the vendors were actually a little bit further up the street in a completely different empty retail location. They were actually put in a former Jimmy Choo store. I guess Jimmy Choo had left and they were able to take over that store and had all of the vendors in there. They had like, I don't know, at least 6, I think. I could be getting that off, but it seemed like about 6 vendors in there. So I was on the other end with 3 other vendors and they had this like volunteer wreath making going on. So we had people coming in, but none of the volunteers were interested in shopping. They were there solely to make wreaths for firemen, I guess. That's what it sounded like. But they weren't interested in shopping. And we were just at the end of the street where no one was walking down. And even if people did walk down there, they had no idea. Like, they couldn't tell that there was a vendor event going on in there unless they like literally stuck their head in and said, hey, what's going on? So 2 hours went by and we had 0 sales. So I was so frustrated. I was like, it's not even raining. I just want to go out on the sidewalk. I used to do pop-up events in the shopping center. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. I guess 3 years ago now that I'm thinking about it.
I used to do pop-up events in the shopping center all the time, and we were always on the sidewalk. So I was like, you know what? I know people walk by. I've done it here. I'm going to go out on the sidewalk. So I move all my stuff out there. We did like ask the one lady who was kind of in charge of the retail location, I guess, if we could move. And she did seem like a little hesitant, but she was like, okay. I mean, at this point, I was like, I'm not staying in here. I'm going on the sidewalk. I don't care what you say. So I moved all my stuff out to the sidewalk, which took a while. I didn't bring everything. I left like my big stand that's had like the curtain thingy on it. I left that in the same room because I was like, there's just no way I can bring all of this out to the sidewalk, and a couple of small things. And then I'm on the sidewalk and I'm like trying to get set up, and finally the same retail person that I had just asked if I could be out there, she comes over and she's like, I called the retail management and they said no one is allowed on the sidewalk. So I'm like, okay, well, where can I go? And she was like, you can go over by the Santa Claus. So there was a different like empty open concept retail spot where it wasn't intended to be a store. It was kind of like event space. I don't know. I'll show you what it looks like. And there was a Santa Claus there. And there was also a free food station because there's a restaurant opening in the shopping center that was about to open in the next month or two. So they were trying to, do publicity, hand out all of the free food. So a lot of people were coming in there to get the free food, and then some people were coming in with their kids to take photos with Santa. So they put me in there, and I'm like, there's no space in here. What am I gonna do? So I set up I had 4 clothing racks, and I turned them into like a clothing rack hallway. So I had 2 on the back area, which was actually like a whole display that people were going up to and taking photos. So I blocked off half of the photo area, and then I had my other 2 racks on the other side. And I put my chair there, and I was like, this is so cramped. This is crazy. So I pretty much leave all my other stuff in the other room at this point. And I didn't set up everything like I normally would, like all my decor and stuff. And the one thing about being in there was I didn't need a lot of decor because there was like that whole like display, like holiday display. So like I didn't need to add holiday decor because it was already like gorgeous. So then I sit in there and I finally start to make sales. And I'm there for the remainder of the day. And what was crazy was the other 3 vendors who also, I forgot to mention that they also tried to go on the sidewalk too, but they were kind of further down. So when the lady came to talk to me and said, hey, you can't be here, she was like, we'll put you in with Santa Claus. And then when she got to the other people, she was like, you have to go back in the room. And they were pissed. They were like, why does she get to go up to the other area and you're sending us back to the original location that is clearly not getting any customers? And they're upset. And I'm like, I mean, normally like I would be really empathetic and like try to figure something out, but at the end of the day, there was nothing I could do. This was out of my control. And I have to take care of my own business. It's too much work to do these pop-ups and set everything up when you have so many clothing racks and all these things that you have to carry in. I'm doing it all by myself. And it was a 7-hour pop-up, and I'm not in a position to just be able to, say, oh, screw it. I'll just go sit in the room that's not going to make me any money. Like, that's not okay. So I ended up texting my husband, and I was like, I pulled a you move, because I'm typically like, I'm not someone who will like, go against the grain and like say, I demand to be in this location. I'm usually like a rule follower, like do whatever you tell me to do, it's fine. So I was like, I just pulled, my husband's the opposite. He's a rebel. He's like, I don't care about following the rules. I'm going to do what I need to do. So I was like, I pulled a you and I stuck up for myself, and I went outside and I demanded to be in a different location, and it worked out. So all of that to say, the other vendors, they actually packed up an hour later and they went home. That's how bad it was in that location. They were getting no customers. I think the event organizer did say that they could come back and do another weekend for free rather than having to put the deposit. Well, it's not a deposit. Having to pay to be a vendor at this event. It's $350. And that's another point. It's too much money to be screwed over. And I couldn't attend any other weekends. Oh, and by the way, you might be wondering why I'm so dressed up right now. I actually was just making a TikTok video and I was about to change, and then I was like, I just need to film the end of this video really quick so I can wrap things up. So I was like, I looked pretty rough throughout this pop-up video, the vlog that I took, just being in the rain and everything. So I was like, it's fine if I'm a little dressed up. Anyway, so to conclude, the other vendors went home. They were so pissed, but I think they were able to sign up for a different weekend. I hope it worked out for them. I have no idea. Normally, like, I try to connect with other vendors and, you know, follow them on social media and keep up with them and just kind of see how things go and like reach out to them. But they were so frustrated that I got to stay in the better area and that they were stuck in the other area. Actually, you know what? One of the vendors, so there were 3 vendors that were stuck in that original area with me, and one of them was able to fit in the other like former Jimmy Choo store with the rest of the vendors. And I never really explained. So the rest of the vendors, since it was like up the street in more of an area where people were walking, and there was like this whole like hot chocolate bar right in front. So people were like, oh, what's in there? So people were going into that store because they could tell something was going on and they knew to go in there. Whereas where we were, it was like further down the way. You would have had to walk farther, and everyone was just, yeah. So the vendors that were in the former Jimmy Choo area, they did make sales. I talked to them. I knew some of them. And I think sales were pretty decent in there. So for me, I was glad that I got to be in that cramped Santa Claus free food area. Oh, and then I never explained. So at the end of the day, Santa Claus went home like around 4 o'clock. And then they brought out these performers. I'll show you what they look like. But the performers came out and there was like a performance next to my pop-up, which is just so unexpected. Like, that's not what I was expecting my day to look like. So that was interesting. It was like people were going in there to see the performers, and then like if they happened to look over at my clothing rack, like I had a couple of people be like, oh, I want this. So it was a weird experience. But to sum it up, I think it did end up being just barely worth it. I think that there were so many people out shopping in this area. If they had just done the original plan and had everyone on the street and the streets had been closed off, I think I probably would have set a record because there were so many people shopping. This is a high-end luxury shopping district where people come to spend money. And when I was getting people who were shopping, a lot of them were like, oh, I need to buy something for my sister. I need to get something for my mother-in-law. Like, this looks cute. Maybe she'd like this. So it was like people were in the mood to shop and they needed to buy their Christmas presents. So people were actively looking for things. So I think if all of those people who were out on the street shopping and part of this like little festival, if they had just known where the vendors were and we had just been on the street, so really if they just kept us on the street, I probably would have set a record because there were so many people out with the intention to shop, but not enough of them knew that I existed in that little open space Santa Claus area. So it was like only the people who were like, oh, what's in there? I'm gonna walk in there. And some of them would shop with me. Whereas if it had just been the festival, I think I would have gotten a lot of sales because everyone was just out in this area. So yeah, I hope I didn't talk too much. At the end of the day, here's the thing. Doing pop-ups, it's so hit or miss because there's really no way to tell whether a pop-up is going to be worth it or not for you unless you've done it in the past. And I have done it in the past at this location and with this event organizer, and it's been great, but you can't predict the weather. So that's just part of the challenge of agreeing to do outdoor pop-ups, is that of course the weather can be such a deterrent for people, or in our case, we were moved to locations that just sucked. So I guess my point is just, if you're looking to do your own pop-up events, you just have to realize like that's just part of it. Is like sometimes you're gonna be stuck in these awful situations where sales do not turn out the way you expected, whereas other times you're going to have such a great day, and it's gonna all feel worth it, and you're gonna set records and make so much money and meet so many people that will then follow you on social media and check you out on your website later on and become lifelong loyal customers, which is why we do it. But in this situation, with these pop-ups, you have to get through these awful days, and you have to not let them get you down. I guess I should have started with that, because I feel like I've just been rambling for however many minutes, but that's the point of all this, is you just have to stick with it and get through these awful times. Because imagine if that had been my first ever pop-up and it had gone that poorly and I hadn't stood up for myself and demanded to be moved, then I might have given up entirely and never done another pop-up. So if there's anything you can take away from this, it's that sometimes it sucks, but you just have to push through. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed my story. I hope I didn't make you too sad. It all worked out. I'm fine. I think it was all worth it in the end. I'm glad I stood up for myself and whatnot. But with that, make sure you subscribe. I have all sorts of great, helpful videos to teach you how to do successful pop-ups. I give you all my tips and tricks, all the things that you need to get ready and set up, and how to make your booth look pretty, and inspiration videos, all sorts of things. Also have a free list of wholesale vendors if you're looking for clothing wholesale vendors to get started with your own store, stuff like that. Definitely check out all of my playlists on this channel. But with that, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.